Greetings, gentlemen. Welcome to the Smart Video Lab. Here I am with the Midterm Unit 1 review sheet that I gave you in class, and we're going to be going over that. If you're just looking for the answers, what I recommend that you do is skip to the end of the video. After I've written all over this document, at the end of the video, I'll scroll through it very slowly so that you can pause as necessary to get the answers if you just want to check your answers. And then you could go back through and listen to how we solved specific questions as needed. But that'd be a good strategy if that's what you want to do. Otherwise, sit back and enjoy the video. So number 1 from the Unit 1 test review says, you're planning to take on a part-time job as a waiter at a local restaurant. During your interview, the boss told you that their best waitress, Jenny, made an average of $71 a night in tips last week. However, when you asked Jenny about this, she said that she made an average of only $50 per night last week. She provides you with a copy of her nightly tip amounts from last week. So we're looking at the table here to the right. You can see on Sunday, she made $50, on Monday, $45, Wednesday, $48, Friday, $125, and Saturday, $87. So our first question that we want to answer is to calculate the mean and the median tip amount. So of course, to calculate the mean, all we have to do is add up all the numbers and divide by the amount of days that she worked. So she worked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. So that's going to be 50 plus 45 plus 48 plus 125 plus 87, all of that, once you add it up, divided by the 5 days that she works. So the mean value that you'll get there will be 355 divided by 5, which is 71. So the mean is $71. Remember, units are important because that tells us the context of the problem. We're talking about money. Now let's look at the median. So the mean is the sum of all the numbers divided by the amount of numbers that there are. The median is the strictly middle value when we line the numbers up from least to greatest. So the smallest amount she made was 45, then 48, then 50, 87, and 125. So to find the middle value, I can just start at each end, crossing off values, and I arrive at the median, which is $50. So now, I'm not going to write the answers to these questions, but it says, which measure of center is Jenny's boss using to describe the average tip? Now, the word average here is kind of ambiguous because Jenny's using one value and her boss is using another. So it's clear that Jenny's boss is using the mean of $71 to describe her tip. He chose this value probably because it's higher. So if you're looking for a job, he wants to communicate to you the best possible information that he can so that it looks like you're going to make a lot of money. And the mean is higher than the median, so it does a better job for what he wants it to do. Now Jenny, on the other hand, she uses the median of $50 to describe her tip amount, and that's probably because she wants to communicate more accurately what she makes on a regular night. She's kind of, it seems, excluding the weekends where she makes more money, probably because she wants to make more money. So she's trying to convince you that she really doesn't make enough. Now it says in part D, which value describes the typical amount of tips per night? And if you go into it and look at it, remember IQR is Q3 minus Q1. Sorry, I should be writing this down here. IQR is Q3 minus Q1. So in this case, if I scroll back up, Q1 is like the median of the lower half of the data set. So we're looking at the lower half of the data set. Q1 is the median there, so this would be Q1. And then Q3 is the median of the upper half of the data set. So this is Q3. So to find the IQR, we're going to need to do 87 minus 48. Which is 39. Now I'm doing this because I want to find outliers. So in this case, an outlier, the upper bound of the outliers would be anything above Q3 plus 1.5 times IQR, which as we can see is going to be 87 plus 1.5 times 39, which is 145.5, I believe. Let me check that value real quick. Yes, and it is. So for something to be an outlier in this case, it'd have to be above 145.5. None of these values are above that because the highest is 125. So there are no outliers actually in this data set. And when there are no outliers, the mean is the best descriptor. So we would choose the mean because there are no outliers. Notice I didn't check for outliers on the low end because there weren't even any suspicious values on the low end, but I was skeptical about whether or not 125 would be an outlier. So now if we use technology to calculate the standard deviation of Jenny's tip amounts and round to the nearest tenth, you're going to use your TI Inspire, and when you compute that, you should get two options, one of which is SX, and in my calculator I got 34.7, and the other of which is sigma x. So one of these is the sample standard deviation, the other is the population standard deviation. And we'll usually use the population standard deviation, which I got from the one variable statistics calculation in the TI Inspire, 31.04. It says round to the nearest tenth, so that's about 31.0. Now notice I didn't show you guys how to do this in the calculator because it's not possible for me to do since I don't have any way of showing the calculator screen on this video. So if you have questions about that, just come and see me one day during lunch.